road use agreement with K2Wind. The company went out and took a $1 billion lien on all municipal roads and all municipal properties. That still exists today, and it's available. It's unregistered if you want to go and have a look at it. In our viewpoint, this is not only morally questionable, ethically questionable. As citizens of this region, we don't agree with a private for-profit company leveraging our property for their benefit. Under the Municipal Act, Part 13, Section 401, in our viewpoint, this is also a breach. That section that covers debt restricts the use of financial instruments of security for borrowing for municipal use. It's very specifically worded. Third-party for-profit projects, such as a wind turbine project, does not qualify as municipal use. Municipal use is for capital projects hosted by the very municipality itself. The council and the municipality will be in contravention of the Municipal Act if they allow an occurrence of debt for this purpose. And we want to say that our municipality is not for sale. Decommissioning, the setup. Wind companies run contracts while profitable. They're for-profit companies, that's what the shareholders demand, that's what they're in the business for. Provisions within the contracts, however, allow the company, the wind company, to exit at any time and transfer the ownership to any other third party. This is standard language in all the contracts and standard language in ADS contracts. When ownership is sold off, all obligations and liabilities within that contract transfer over to the new owner. The new owner is typically a numbered shell corporation with no assets. They have no value. They're simply a numbered company. Now the scam. The wind company transfers ownership to the numbered shell shortly before the decommissioning obligation. So in a 20-year contract, we'll typically run it for about 19 to 19 and a half years. And just before the profits start to turn into cost liabilities, they will transfer ownership over to this numbered shell that's sitting there waiting on the side of the desk for it. The numbered shell runs the project for a very brief period of time, then declares bankruptcy just prior to the decommissioning obligations. The landowner and municipality are then left with the liability to decommission and clean up the sites. Decommissioning costs today, and this information here is from smaller turbines, mind you, about 2 megawatts, runs between $125,000 and $150,000 per turbine. So 50 turbines of that size, you're looking at somewhere between $7.5 and $8 million decommissioning costs. There are examples of this occurring today in other countries, and it's reported in California alone. There's over 6,000 abandoned turbines today, right now. So do the math. Property tax impact. We heard through our processes with the petition that there were some people in other areas of the municipality that didn't feel they were going to be affected. Well, yes, they are. Everyone is going to be affected. Wind turbine projects have a negative effect on market values of property. We know that. It's proven. Even the Ontario Superior Court has recognized that. When property assessments reduce after the turbines go up, the nation will need to increase its tax rate to balance. Limoges values are greater than St. Isidore, St. Bernardin due to its proximity to Ottawa, and Limoges is fully serviced. So values in St. Isidore, St. Bernardin area will decrease due to the wind farms coming in. Values in Limoges and St. Albert will likely maintain their value. They'll be far enough away from the project that they'll maintain. But the impact will be a tax shift. You'll have to increase the taxes in Limoges and St. Albert in order to balance the revenue requirements of the municipality as they drop in the other regions. The median house value in nation is $238,000. And when we did the rough split on that based on values, if we take a home that's worth around $200,000 in the St. Isidore area, compared to Limoges, that home would be worth about $277,000 due again to the proximity of full service. 2015 tax rates have a tax assessment of about $14,000 for St. Isidore and about $19,000 for Limoges. So about a $500 variance. We know that based on the research we've done, that the average decline for homes immediately in the vicinity of a large wind project, the reduction is somewhere between 23 and 55%, depending on its proximity and some other local factors. So if we take the 20% scenario, St. Isidore, drop in value, that would mean the tax rate would be about $1,200 for St. Isidore, and it would have to bump up to about $2,100 in Limoges to balance again for the municipal revenue stream. So all of a sudden, the variance is now almost $900. And the tax increase just due to this project coming into the Limoges, St. Albert area residents would be $350 on a home valued at $277,000. Now, with the other, take the worst case scenario with a 40% decline in property values in the wind turbine area. You're looking at the scenario increasing again. You're looking at a drop in St. Isidore to about $1,000, an increase in Limoges to about $2,300. The variance coming up to $1,300. So it's almost an $800 differential. And the numbers get quite staggering when you start looking at the more expensive homes that are in the $350,000, $400,000, $450,000 range. So up, yes, everyone will be affected, even if you're not near the turbine project. This is going to result in elevated tensions between the regions, the council, between the local areas, elevated expectations in the areas. There's going to be complaints coming in from all directions. There's going to be a lot of conflict. As I mentioned, we know that the average drop is between 23 and 55%. Property tax impact, revenues for one turbine is around $2,400 that the municipality would be receiving should the turbine go up. That equates to tax revenues for one home valued at about $345,000, which I'm sure if we had Elaine in here, he could tell us that that's probably pretty easy to achieve through your building permit process and likely a median or an average cost of what people are building these days for their homes. So in other words, 60 new homes at around $350,000 would actually grossly exceed the potential net tax revenue received from this wind project. Why would it grossly exceed it? First of all, for a dollar per dollar basis, it actually would generate more tax revenue, but you wouldn't have all of those costs. You wouldn't have the road damage. You wouldn't have the cost of having to hire the additional staff to contract out additional work. You wouldn't have the cost of having to invest in additional fire suppression equipment, training. So there'd be a substantial benefit to just going forward with regular growth as opposed to bringing in these industrial complexes. A recent survey done here in the Greater Ottawa area, Ottawa residents reported 78% of them would not live in proximity to an industrial wind turbine complex. So losing 80% of your potential client base, plus the outward migration that will happen if the turbine comes in because the local residents start to move out as well away from the area. Those who cannot tolerate will not tolerate it. So this causes a collapse in your property value. If you lose 80% of your customers, your property values are going to decline. It's pretty simple economics. People avoid industrial wind turbine projects, period. That's the bottom line. So what's the net result? An ongoing erosion of the population base here, the current population base, puts downward pressure on the tax revenues. Major decline in new homes. Those two combined, businesses start to drop off and lose. Again, you've got downward pressure on revenues. Both of these activities end up in what I refer to as the declining growth spiral. It self-feeds itself. It's a corkscrew down into the ground. And the tax base, over time, will begin to collapse. Stop the madness. Coal-fired generation, electricity conservation, Ontario's energy policy. Stop the lies, corruption, and bribery. The truth about industrial wind turbines, restoration of democracy, and greed. Enough. This is from the IESO greenhouse gas emission forecast. So if you look historically from 2004 at the extreme left, moving towards the right to 2015, we've experienced a remarkable 80% decline in greenhouse gas emissions. It's remarkable over that short period of time. There's two primary factors that have produced that result. One is the closing of the coal-fired plants in Ontario, which were the single biggest contributor. The second massive contribution to that is conservation. People are using a lot less electricity. So that objective's been easily achieved over a much shorter time period than even the provincial government expected it to occur. Conservation is the best approach and it's working. Residential electricity use from 1990 to 2015 is down 45%. Commercial electricity use over the same time period, 25% down. Industrial, 38%. So that objective's been well achieved, and the current trends are continuing in that direction. What about Ottawa region? And this region includes Ottawa, Greater Ottawa area, as well as right through to the Quebec border, where we live. As you can see here, since they brought in time of use meters and encouraged people on the Energy Smart programs to get conservative and wise with their energy use around 2009, 2008, we've seen a precipitous drop in our use in this region of hydro. And it's continuing to drop. That hasn't even started to rebound and level off. So where's the demand for more electricity? We're in a massive surplus situation right now. I'll talk a little bit more about that. This is really about big cities. This is about cities that have a unquenchable thirst for energy. Greater Toronto region, Ottawa. This is a war on rural communities. This is about politics, about profiteering by foreign for-profit companies that are taking the profits not only out of Ontario, but out of Canada. We don't need this project, and I think the community has spoken loud and clear that they don't want it. Ontario Hydro's surplus is hurting us. 2011 Auditor General Jim McCarter report, 2005 to 2010, Ontario consumers lost $1.8 billion on electricity exports. Because of the global agreement that they signed, we are forced to sell any excess electricity onto the grid at a roughly, on average, about 10 cents to the dollar it costs us to produce it. Electricity exports for the first 6 months of this year, $1.1 billion. Forecasted for 2015, losses are going to exceed $2 billion. First 5 years, we lost $2 billion over 5 years. Now we're losing $2 billion plus a year. Our surplus is getting bigger, our losses are getting greater. Why are we adding more power to the grid? Cost to cancel the gas plants, $1.5 billion. Taxpayer costs of green energy program to date, July 2015, $40 billion. Estimated to top $70 billion by the time the wind turbine energy levels are up to where the government would like to see them. Ontario now has the highest hydro rates in North America. As hydro costs grow and increase, business goes down. There's thousands of examples of this around the world. This is basic economics. Business will move to where the power rates are cheaper so that they can be more competitive. This is natural. So this madness is killing our economy. It's killing jobs, and it's killing our future. They told us that lead was okay in our fuels. The doctor said smoking was fine, it was healthy for you. They actually encourage pregnant women to smoke during pregnancy. Get your kid on POP early. Scientific studies prove your child will be more energetic if you start them as infants. Well, I remember this fellow, and most of us probably do too. Well, it's discovered that he wasn't telling the truth either. Lead poisoning in children. Cholesterol. Lowering it will prevent heart disease. This has been proven now to be as well. We will balance the budget. Yeah, the gas plants. We will, what gas plants? Emails. talking about. We will create this many jobs with the Green Energy Act. And windmills will solve all our problems. We will live in a green utopia with more jobs than we can manage. It's free energy. We won't even have to pay for our hydro. Well, we won't be fooled again. We know it's not true. We've done our homework. We've done our research. And I think the proof is starting to emerge. Those who don't remember the past are condemned to repeat it. So the lead industry in 1960, the problem is not lead paint in the home, it is the children with pica disorder chewing the paint. So the industry, instead of dealing with the problem of poisoning children across the world, blamed infants. They blamed the children. Tobacco industry, 1960s, right up until I would even argue today, still confess there's no link between smoking and cancers, or lung cancer. And there's no scientific studies that prove that. Well, yes, there are, if you'll open your eyes and you'll actually read them. Food industry, as early as 2000s, there are no scientific health risks from trans fats. Well, we know that's not true either. Higher sugar intake is not associated with diabetes. Well, yes, it is. Nor obesity. Mr. Martin Luther King, nothing in all the world is more dangerous